Over the years, I've given a considerable number of lectures, and one of the things that people have asked me about was my coming out experience. I can say after watching a considerable number of videos, mine was extremely unusual. Um, I was 15 years old at the time. I was attending Redwood High School in Corte Madera, California. I was a junior, along with my twin sister, who I met there. We were also in the same class or classes with Robin Williams, yes, the actor. And I can say with absolute certainty that it was his life and my relationship with him during that brief time that enabled me to survive the whole experience of telling my parents I was gay. So this is the story that I've told in many different lectures. What happened was, of course, I was 15 years old, and everybody else that attended PE was much older than I. And I feared the differences in development. So I refused. I refused to go to PE. I would only take the courses that were absolutely necessary for me to take to be able to graduate from high school and go on to college. And my sister was the same way. She was not attending PE. She was also a little bit overweight, but I never saw that. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. So I never saw that in her. But anyway, this raised a stink at the school. They were very upset over the fact that I was cutting class, PE class. So I was hauled into the dean's office and confronted about this. And he was furious. He was furious that I would not attend physical education. So, of course, he called my mother. Well, not a good thing. My mom was having a very difficult time in her marriage. And as a consequence, she overreacted because I was upset and said, look, I don't want to deal with this. I did not want to discuss being gay with him. So what happened was, because I was an unruly child, I was going off um, to juvenile hall. That was all there was to it. Well, on the way to juvenile hall, the woman that was driving the vehicle looks in the mirror, and she looked at me and she was like, you do not belong in juvenile hall. And I was like, well, where do I belong? And so she understood my predicament, and finally she called my mother and said, you have to pick up your son and you guys need to talk. She did not reveal to her my secret. So when my mother came, of course, she was very pleasant, very nice, so on and so forth, and said we would all talk about this when we got home. So we drove back home, and finally dinner time came. My dad came home. My mother explained to him everything that was going on. We finally went into the dining room, and we sat at this very long oval table that was maybe about 6 to 8 feet long. My mother sat directly across from me, and my dad sat to my right. And so once the meal was served, my dad decided he was going to delve right into the situation. And he immediately looked at me and asked me, so why are you not attending physical education? I just said, I didn't know what the hell to say. And all of a sudden, something just came within me. And I just yelled out, because I'm gay, okay? I'm gay. I've had it. And I started to cry. And of course, all I could remember was seeing my father rise. He was a very tall man, 6'3", rise up and his spoon hitting the bowl and that clang sound. And the next thing I know, I'm looking at my mother and she's smiling. And I'm like, what the heck? And she's going, well, sweetheart, we're so happy that you're happy. And of course, my dad is horrified by this. You could see this. And he's like, no, he's not happy. He's a homosexual. And of course, I'm still sitting there going, well, that's an interesting way of saying it. And of course, my mother's still sitting there. She has not reacted. And I'm thinking, what now? And so there is a carton of milk in front of us. And my mother looks at the carton of milk and then looks at my father and says to him, so what has this got to do with milk? This is it. My dad's had it. This is it. He is not getting through to her. So finally he just comes out and he says, no, he sleeps with men. Well, that woke mother up. That totally woke mom up. And she was like, my baby, my baby. Well, I was only 15 years old. I was a junior in high school. And now suddenly I was no longer I was no longer her little baby. But I hadn't slept with anybody yet. So I don't know. But in the end, within a couple hours, my mother came in and said, "We're getting a divorce." And I was like, wait a minute, what? No, we just went hanging on for the children. So that was my coming out experience. Yeah, that was it.